today we have a great opportunity. I'm Dr. David Visser, this is Dr. Karen Visser, and we have a heart for mentoring. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And so what we have today is we have two individuals who will be joining us. We're going to just talk about what this road to veterinary medicine is. So we're kind of the senior experienced veterinarians in this, but we have two individuals joining us. Abi will be joining us, and she is a senior veterinary student at Michigan State University. She's in the midst of an externship here at our practice, and we're honored to have her. But during the time that she's here, we wanted to have an opportunity to have her meet and share in discussion with Macy Andrus, who is also a future veterinarian. She's a high schooler. She's a junior in high school here in Edwardsburg, and she'll be joining us as well, and we'll be talking about the road to veterinary medicine, what the road in veterinary medicine looks like, and the pluses, the minuses, the challenges throughout. So it's going to be a great experience, a great conversation. We'll get right to it.
Yes.
Really glad that both of you are here. I mean, for us personally, it's exciting to know that that we've been able to help you in your walk, through veterinary medicine. We've really enjoyed, Karen and I, being veterinarians, and so it just feels really cool that you're on that walk and you're at different places. So, talking about where we were early on, what we went through as the steps that you all are going through, and where we are is like way down the road comparatively. But this is just kind of a reflection on where you are in your walk, and maybe you wonder about what the walk ahead looks like. So Macy, tell us a little bit about where you are and what things are going on, how you decided to become a veterinarian.
Well, I am a junior. I've been shadowing you guys, thankfully, for a while now. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned so much. I am really happy that I want to be a veterinarian. I want to be more of like a zoo veterinarian. So like everything helps at this point though. So yeah, it's just really exciting to be able to be here. So I want to work with like endangered animals as well to help conservation, help like the breeding programs, help all of those things that people aren't going to usually be able to see with those animals. So like it's nice that like zoos are able to provide that experience for people so they know what's happening in the world. I feel like that's really important.
I remember the first time that you came out, you wore a mask that probably was bigger than your face. I think you were probably about 10 years old.
Probably,
and, the gloves that we got for you when you came in to observe surgery, it's just one of the memories I have all the way back. It was quite something, but you've stuck with it. We've had a lot of people come out, observe and volunteer, and both of you are exceptions that you have not only come out for that experience, but dedicated yourself to continue down that path. And Abby's right at the brink of finishing up her veterinary program. Abby, how did you decide to become a veterinarian, and where you are in school now? Where's that? Where are you now with your education?
So I always knew that I always wanted to work with animals, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with that. Like maybe I could be zookeeper, or it could be because I also really love zoo animals and I also love conservation, or it could be like a park ranger, something to do with nature and animals. And then I went to I started my undergrad and started doing biology, and veterinary medicine had always been on my radar, and I was I really love physiology and anatomy, and I love surgery, and I love all the gross things. And so I went and reached out to a bunch of different veterinarians and only got one back. It was Dave. And he was like, yes, of course you can shadow me. I'd be happy to. And so that's what I started shadowing my summer of my freshman year, between freshman year and sophomore year. So you're already ahead of the game. And Dr. Dave let me scrub in on some surgeries. He let me shadow him, what you've been doing during appointments, and he let me feel things on the dogs and or the cats and whatever, and look at blood work and everything. I was like, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. This is super cool. And so I started pursuing that in undergrad. I got a pre-vet got into the pre-vet program, and then actually changed my degree from biology to biomedical science because it was more medical than biology, and I didn't want to take plant class because I was like, no, thank you. I love plants, but not my thing. And then I got straight from undergrad. I went into to vet school, and I got very lucky and started at Michigan, and now I'm at Michigan State, and I'm in my 3rd year now.
Yay.
And now I'm doing my clinical rotation here, and it's been amazing. And I'm on my 3rd week, and I'll be sad when I leave, but I can't wait to come back and do more here. And yeah.
Abby's really done an amazing thing by coming out, sticking with it, and it's one of those things where you come in without a ton of confidence, because you just think like you're in a privileged place, everybody else knows what's going on, I don't, and this kind of thing, and you really feel like an alien. And but by going through this, and by that's what our goal has been, is to try and erase the things that are obstacles so that it can just be about what flourishes within a person. I have nothing against anybody who decides to do something different, but to have the opportunity, I don't want to be an encumbrance to that. And that's why we have had a philosophy of just making sure that door is wide open. But you kept coming back, and you kept engaging, and by making sure that it was the opportunity you were looking for, it was really cool to then see you go to Grand Valley and get into pre-vet, and then go to Michigan State. And here you are on the cusp. This is the beginning of your last year then?
Yes.
That's outstanding.
Yep.
So what types of clinical rotations do you have ahead?
My next one is aquatic animal medicine, so I'll be working with fish and fisheries, and I don't actually know, but I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then my next one will be histopath and cytology, and so I'll get to be working with like tissues with a microscope. And then my next one will be large animal. So we have 6 weeks of that. We'll be doing surgery, and then we'll be doing GP, general practice. And then I have a few other ones that I'm super excited about that I can't remember the order of, but I have an extra trip in January where I'm going to Florida for sea turtle rehab.
So cool.
Sea turtle rehab clinical rotation. So I'm also super into conservation. So just seek out those opportunities.
Where will that be?
Florida, Jupiter, Florida. Yeah.
I've heard of it.
All right.
It's kind of close to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
That's outstanding.
Good.
Karen and I, we went through veterinary school like a year apart, and we've often said,
That's
we
great.
got 2 educations.
We went through it twice because he was a year ahead of me. And so when he was studying, I was like, oh.
Yes.
And then when I did the same thing the next year, he got to review it. So we basically had 2 educations.
That's really
and
nice.
What I was going to add too is just keep getting experience, because it is the key to real world, because you're both very intelligent. You can learn the book, but if you don't know what to do when you're in clinical practice, that's really the hard part, or wherever you're going to be, at the zoo or wherever you're going to be. When we were veterinary students, help me, he's the date
Trying
person.
to read your mind.
Well, we lived at a vet clinic
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
Yes.
We, it was wonderful because we lived in an apartment that was above vet clinic, so we were the interns there. And so after hours, we would screen the veterinarian's calls, and if we felt, like it was something that she needed to come in for, we would call her, but that saved her from having to take night calls. And we just lived it, We took care of the animals on the weekend that were there. We helped her in surgery. We knew what it was like to make appointments. We just, experience is everything. And I'm so glad to hear that because you were here, that, oh yes, this is what I want to do, because it could go the other way too. Because if you go through all of this education and then, I don't want to do this, that's really, really important. So that really has been probably one of the very best things, at least for me, is to have really lived it before I had to. And seeing that there are different ways to do things as well. Because somebody who has experience, we've been doing this for over 30 years, you're going to be learning some things that are different than what we do, but clearly it works. So when you're out in practice and somebody else says, well, I do it this way, don't close your mind to, well, that's not what the professor said. You have to just blend it with experience and with book knowledge.
When we were applying to vet school, they required something like 250 hours of experience. I don't know what's happened now, whether it's the same thing or not, but I think when we applied, we had like 5,000 hours of experience. And it's not so much that it was easy to do, it's just that when you live at the clinic, that was the experience we got. And it was real life. But the other thing about that experience is that we also were given an opportunity.
Yes.
We were given an opportunity that was rare, and we really appreciated that. And we vowed then, when we had that great gift bestowed upon us, that we were going to be those kinds of practitioners.
Yeah.
And that is really the essence of that giving back thing, because it's easy to take and receive, and you're going to get what you get. It's really going to help you be successful. But then there's also this element of, well, who's next, and how can I make a bigger difference in the world, or for the next generation?
Yes.
And some of the mentoring that's been going on, like, I'll just say what is, when you're coming out. But with Abby, that mentoring changes, because I'm constantly saying, she's probably sick of it, but this is the way we're doing it, but this is the way you're learning it in school.
Yes.
It's like, if you do something that is different from the path, know where the ideal path is.
Yes.
It is okay to do something that is either helpful to a client because it's cost effective, or because it's worth trying this type of approach, but never forget what an ideal type of approach is. So the mentoring changes then during that time as well. And Abby, this is her first rotation in her senior year. She's going to go back and she'll have all of this experience that she has here. But if we didn't give her the tool to discern, then it's going to be like, well, veterinarians don't know what they're doing because they're not consistent. And so it's important to realize there's many different ways to do the same things, and to have that perspective gives a healthy understanding as you go back and learn from the specialists.
Yeah.
And that's important. That's important. So what happens after this year? You have to go through board exams. What's the board exam schedule look like?
So the NAVLE is the licensing exam for vet school, or to be a vet, and that is in December.
Okay,
Right.
plenty of time.
Plenty
of time.
I'm already studying for it.
Does it make you nervous to prepare for that, or is it like, I know this stuff?
It does.
Yeah.
But because I'm starting so early, I think by the time I get there, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that's what they kind of recommended to us, is to start early, and then it won't be as intimidating. Still be intimidating, but it'll be okay.
There was an admission test too that you had to take to get in. Is that right? Did you do a GRE or an MCAT or? Wow, all right. So
see,
they changed that,
Yeah.
but they might be changing it back.
Oh,
So just be aware of that. Some schools do require it too. If you go to Michigan State, they don't require either yet, but they might change that.
Interesting. See, we're learning from you.
Yeah. So for Macy, share with her what the application process looked like.
Yeah. It was, so luckily you're already ahead of the game with how many hours you're already getting, but they want to see variety in what you have experience in. So they want to see, have you worked with horses for 2 hours or for a day? Great, we want you. If you haven't worked with horses ever, they will probably take someone else who has worked with them.
Interesting.
And that's kind of what was on my application, was like, I worked with horses for 5 hours, and then I had worked with some reptiles for 2 hours, and it wasn't even medical handling. It was just like, here's how you handle a reptile, here's how you handle a snake. And so that's like one of the biggest things, is getting as much variety as you can, especially if you want to be a zoo vet. The next part is find things that are outside of vet school to take care of yourself, because they don't want someone who's going to be completely like halfway through vet school and then break down because they have no support outside of medical things. So once you get into undergrad, try to get into different things, get into different clubs that are like photography, or something that has nothing to do with vet school. I think you're currently in some like musical type stuff right now. There are clubs for that. There's a cappella clubs wherever you go.
Yes.
And if there's not, you can start one. And that is also a plus because vet schools love that. It means you're going to take the initiative to do things yourself, and you don't have to be alone in those things either, and you can seek out help from lots of people out there. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is find some kind of research in undergrad, find it early, and then that way you can switch if you don't like it, but then you still get a wide range of research opportunities, because vet schools, they love to be seeing that you want to continue your education throughout your career as a veterinarian. And if you don't do any research, you're gonna have a hard time getting experience reading papers and getting experience with doing new things. And those new things are often better. So definitely reach out to different mentors. If you don't see something like some kind of research that you're interested in, make something up and pitch it to someone. Someone will probably take you on, or they'll know someone who will take you on. So research is
great advice.
Yeah,
I was going to add that too. That don't just be a scholar. You've already been to France with the school. So get out there and do some other types of life experience. And don't just take all sciences or whatever they want, because you're going to be speaking with people who are from different parts of the world, the different professions. You want to have a little bit of something that you can identify with your clients and understand where they're coming from. So sometimes you'll have to say, like, if they're not understanding what you're explaining to them about their pet, you can say, well, what do you do professionally? And oh, I'm a photographer. Okay, well, and then you just have to be able to know people.
And relate to them in different ways.
The animal part is the easy part. The science part is the easy part. It really is. I always tell people, I've probably told you guys too, if you don't love people, if you don't love dealing with the public, do not be a veterinarian, because it is not. It's about the love of the animals and the love of the environment and the love of conservation and all of that, but you have to get to do that through the people. So you've got to be able to be a good communicator and understand where people are coming from, and that's, you only get that by getting out there and doing that in the world.
Even non-client related fields in veterinary medicine, you'll still have to collaborate with other researchers or leaders, and in the education process you'll be dealing with clinicians and educators along the way, and so the people element of this is very important. When we have people come to our clinic and they say, well, why do you want to work here? And it's like, I want to work with animals, I don't like people. That's kind of not going to be very successful. It's like what you were saying about, if you don't have experience working with some of the animals that are part of veterinary medicine, why haven't you? And it's too late. Now we've just asked you in an interview process. It probably shows that you don't have full interest in being here and such. So and like a table, it's going to be much more stable on multiple legs than just one. And so to have your life be as stable as a multi-leg table by having other involvements, being a well-rounded person, that's important for your overall success. What has you excited? What has you nervous about this road ahead? And we've been down this road in some degrees. What do you think about as you face this and as you hear these kinds of things?
Yeah, I'm excited with working with animals, obviously. That's a big part of being a vet.
Oh, yes.
I'm excited, about getting that hands-on experience that you're not always going to get, like, in another job, like a desk chair, like office job. Like, that's just boring. I couldn't do that. But like being a vet, you get to work with those animals hands-on that you really love. And I feel like they just become like a part of your family, especially in like a zoo setting. Like they would just become, something that you work for like your entire life. And I feel like that's just such an important part of becoming a vet. And also you get to work with people, as you mentioned. That's such a big part of being a vet. And you get to collaborate with people, other vets that are so like, they're willing to put that effort in as much as you are. Like that's so important. They're just interested in the same things and are working towards the same goal. I feel like that's so incredible.
Yes.
That's excellent. So what does your stepwise process look like? You're in your senior year in high school right now, is that
Junior.
right? You're a
Junior,
junior.
yep.
Boy, I've gotten that wrong several different times. But you're just so go-getter. I just put you way ahead, which is probably what everybody's going to do in your life, by the way, put you ahead. So what does this road look like? You're going to apply, you've been looking at schools, you're thinking where to go.
Yep.
Where do you think that you're going to go, and what is your plan toward vet school, to the degree that you know anyway?
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to apply to a bunch of different colleges. My number one is Indiana Wesleyan right now. Loved their campus, loved their program. My number two is Calvin, and number three is Hope. So I will hopefully apply this summer, and then know hopefully by senior year what I would be doing and get ahead of the game, what I'm doing, and then I'll do undergrad, hopefully do some internships at some zoos, other practices, hopefully here maybe, and then hopefully I'll get into vet school, apply, and that's hopefully the plan.
That's good. What was the process like? How long did it take, Abby, when you started applying and was starting to work through, or as you think through this time period where Macy is at, and the time period where you were making application? What things, we talked about the volunteer experience and such, but do you recall the timeline that was involved from the time that you said, okay, now it's time to actually make application, and what was involved in that?
That's a really good question.
We've forgotten it because it's more than 30
It's
years
too long ago for us.
You might have forgotten because it's easy to like dismiss.
So I guess, are you asking like, what things did I go through? Like what steps?
There probably was a paper application, or at least a digital application.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
then,
digital.
You didn't have to do the entrance test. That's really good.
Right.
Okay. What sort of timeline? Is this something that you started a year beforehand? Is it something that was 6 months beforehand?
Okay. So I don't remember when I started applying for undergrad, but I started applying when they told me to start applying. And I actually only applied to 3 colleges. Grand Valley was one of them. And then Grand Valley ended up just being the one that I went into. And then, I guess since I started applying for colleges, like, I realized that I needed more of like volunteer hours to get even into undergrad. And so I started like volunteering every Saturday for small animal rescue. I just sat there and played with dogs and interacted with people and said like, hey, this dog needs adopted. You should totally adopt him.
Which was meaniful.
Yes, it was.
To those pets, It might have been one thing, it might have felt like playing, but the enrichment it meant to them.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And even though like my Saturdays were taken up by those like volunteering, like it was totally worth it, because I not only like got to play with puppies and kittens, but I got to work with people and like work on those communication skills and those like social skills, where not only was I working with people who wanted to adopt them and say like, oh, this dog like needs special needs, are you like willing to do that? And like that was when I started being able to advocate for these animals. But then I also got to work with the people running the program, and like how much it really takes to run these programs, and like they're running on this much money. Yes. And it's really hard for them to get anywhere with that. So they rely on people like volunteers like me, and so it was really important for me to be able to see how much it takes to care about these animals, and that passion grew in me from them. That's outstanding. Yeah.
And then that experience then contributed toward the credentials that you needed to apply to vet school as well.
Yeah, and then I wasn't. That was definitely probably the main animal thing that I did. The other things I did was I was involved in clubs like, so the Honor Society, where we went and cleaned up highways, and we made like lunch bags for people. We did like Christmas Christmas toy runs and stuff like that, and raised money for the community, and that was like a really good way to get like a better sense of like how to get involved with the community and how to make such an impact. And so definitely I would recommend doing things like that. But then also part of my application that like got me somewhere was like being in the marching band and all the bands.
Yay band.
Yeah, yay music. So you're already ahead in there too. Like music was such a like core part of my like soul. And I was able to like not spin it in a way, but like use it to my advantage in that like I was able to say when I played music, like it let me express myself and be in the moment, and then also like share that moment with other people. Yes. And being able to do that as a veterinarian is super important. And so it takes it like, and then also the performance anxiety thing. That's always something I'm still working on all the time. And then, but that was also like something that I was able to like work on as a flutist. But then I also did like tons of other things, like things that I just liked to do. And those things helped me get into school too.
That's fantastic. And, you know, if you think about then, you know, not just the performance things that you're doing in school, but like reflect on some of the ways in which it, you know, it reflects teamwork, following direction, you know, all of these things. You know, I have a music background as well, and it just helped me to be responsive to and responsible to somebody else, but at the same sort of manner that what I'm doing matters because I'm working with, you know, a group, and it's probably the same thing, right? With working with
theater, yeah.
Yeah. So how can some of the things that you're working through, even just in theater, how can that how has that helped you, like being responsive to you know, an organization kind of thing?
Yeah. So being in theater, you're not just working for yourself. You're working for your people, like your peers, your tech team, your cast, your directors, but also for the community. We're all working towards the same goal to get the show on and get it, you know, good. Like it's not just for us, but it's also for people who are watching, for everybody else that is involved. Like you're not just working towards one thing, you're working towards a bigger goal than just yourself. And I feel like that's really important in that. Like I just became dance captain recently, so I've been working with those people, helping them get better, but also helping myself get better at the same time, you know, leading, collaboration, all those important skills that are needed for life.
Our profession is in good hands.
Yeah.
I am telling you what.
Yeah, you know, as senior people sitting out here, and I don't like the word senior. Really.
Well,
I just feel like I'm older than yesterday.
Mature.
You don't look
mature.
it.
Mature.
But it's quite something to know that we're not responsible only for the future of veterinary medicine. That, you know, if there are people who are helping people accomplish for the profession, it's literally this passing of the baton, and that is really, I can't tell you how enjoyable it is for us to be able to sit here and talk through these things, because that kind of skill and experience, that's what launches things into the future in this profession. And that's a professional immortality.
Yes.
You know, we're going to have a time period where we're no longer able to practice, no longer whatever the case may be, and to know that there is a professional immortality, that we have helped the profession float across us and then into others who are going to be taking on, is really important.
Yes.
That's outstanding.
Yes. It is important because in the profession there will be times where you're going to need somebody else's help. Even in the little things like, you know, the power goes out. Well, we have a generator. And so, you know, we'll call around and say, do you need us to store your biologicals? Or something? You know, we've got power. Because you can lose all of your drugs and all, you know, and you know, when you're in practice by yourself and you've paid for that, it's just a loss. So, or we've even had times where patients were on IVs, and if you don't have power to run the pump, I mean, you can do it, but
It's not fun.
no. So, you help each other out
Yeah.
in the profession. And
Even in the education process, do they still have the SIB program? Where
oh,
you,
good, good,
Yeah.
good.
They still do. Yep.
Yeah, which is an upper class, well, probably just somebody a year ahead of you will kind of take you on as their little SIB. So, you get to know, they'll help you through the next year, basically.
Yeah, it's an icebreaker, but it's support. It's like, where's the bathrooms?
Yes.
Where's the vending machines?
It's true.
Where's that lecture hall? Whatever the case may be, it's just
Yeah.
you will feel like I'm probably supposed to already know this.
You're right.
But the fact is you don't until
Yes.
you've heard it from somebody. And so the SIB program helps. They literally assign it, and they don't assign it to be a burden. They assign it because it's important.
It
so
is.
knowing that you can hook up with somebody who's in the class ahead of you, or that you can mentor somebody in the class behind, is a great setup. And that's not the only way in which that can happen. There are ways in which study groups get together, and you can invite
Yes.
people from other classes not to participate, but just to kind of absorb. When we went through 1 year apart, Karen would sit through some of the lectures.
Oh, yeah,
in
we
my
go to his
class.
lectures.
One professor went off on our class, and she was like, "Is this what it's going to be like?" I was like, "No, that was just one time." But I mean, and then going back in, you get this repetition, and that just helps solidify what the experience is
Yes.
overall. And if you study for life rather than studying for the test, that's really what matters. I don't think either one of us were at the top of our class, but we also know that there was people who were at the top of the class who, skipped class. They just had an intellectual thing about being
Yes.
able to pass the test, but no experience then for the long-term success out in practice. And so those are important things to just not be hard on yourself. Go ahead and be at the top of the class, but it's really important to have that broad experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're already in vet school.
Right.
If you get into vet school, you're in.
Yes.
Just study for yourself.
Yes.
You can be at the bottom of your class. It doesn't matter. You're still in.
Yes. Yeah. Then you owe it just to yourself, right? For the
Yes.
experience that you get.
Yep.
And what are you going to carry out of here? So many things in an education process that you do for somebody else. I got to study for that test because I want them to give me a good grade. I need to impress them and this kind of thing. Well, they disappear and you go on. And you have to be able to develop what will carry you forward. And that's an important part of this. Yeah.
Yeah, so a question for you. What was your least favorite part, about the whole process?
From high school or in vet school or
The whole thing.
the whole thing?
The whole road.
Okay. Probably the least favorite thing was how many doubters there were in my life. But I'm also are you gonna doubt me? I'm gonna prove you wrong
Yeah.
kind of person.
Good for you.
And it sucks to see other people get sad about it, because it makes me just mad.
Yes.
But we actually in undergrad for our pre-vet club, which 100% recommend getting into. We had someone come in and talk to us about student loan debt, after they graduated, and they were saying don't do vet school if you have a tiny itty bitty interest in something else. Just don't do it. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do vet school. Sure, I'm interested in being a zookeeper, or I'm interested in being something else. It doesn't matter. I'm going to vet school. I'm not gonna let student debt scare me. But I saw other people getting discouraged by it, and it really frustrated me because they're still very passionate about animals, and they deserve the same encouragement that everyone else, they deserve all of the encouragement. So that's my least favorite thing. That was probably a little different than what you were expecting.
The economics of veterinary medicine education is a tricky thing, because there are salaries and there's expenses from the education process. But like many things in life, it's not really what happens to us, but how we respond to it. And in the same sort of manner, if this is the cost to do something that is part of what my goal and mission is in life, then the only other question is, how will I take care of it, not is it impossible to take care of. And so there are ways in which that debt is able to be taken care of by employment and lucrative opportunities that happen out there. And so it's not an impossibility, but it is a challenge to the profession. There's no doubt about it. There are fewer veterinarians than what community needs, which is a great opportunity for those of us going into it. But for the world that needs more of us, this also contributes to something called stress. You know, and we have a lot of stress in our profession that happens too. We've been very fortunate and blessed that we haven't had a lot of stress in our lives that has taken any toll, but stress is everywhere. And again, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it. How do you handle stress in vet school? Is it something that plays a big role right now?
I'm going to therapy.
Yes.
So 100% recommend therapy.
Yeah.
And I also, I do running, and I go hiking in all the local parks. I do rollerblading because it's fun and I'm terrible at it. I also do a lot of drawing and like painting, even though I'm also terrible at that. But it's like a creative outlet for me. And then I do just like every day, I do at least 20 minutes of something that isn't related to vet school, that isn't also social media. 100% recommend breaking your social media addiction if you have one.
That's good.
Because it's really hard to not only like get sucked into it and be like, oh, an hour went by and I probably could have studied, and then you feel bad about that. There's nothing you can do about that, but and that hour is already gone. But also the stress of seeing other people like either be successful or be upset at other people, or like clients. There's a lot of issues right now with social media and clients bashing on vets, and seeing that while I'm in vet school is really stressful because like I know what's going on, and there's no way for me to be like telling those people that what is going on and that they need to be more passionate, compassionate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. How do you deal with stress, and does stress play a role in the concerns as you go forward, and with education, whether it's veterinary medicine pursuits or just in school and life right now?
Yeah, so I also run. I'm doing cross country and track. I think that helps, you know, with stress. You know, there's a scientific explanation behind it. But also just kind of, it tires you out almost so you can study.
Yeah.
So you can focus more. I don't know, I don't know. I just handle it. I don't know. Like
it's possible that that you know, a fish doesn't know the water they're in. If you've got good stress management, it's very possible that you've done the things that are necessary to keep it at bay. And, but I think stress relieving techniques sets you up for being ready for when stress comes your way. If it isn't you know, a part. And it is challenging. It is true that when you get into vet school, you are in. I do remember feeling like they said the hardest part was getting in, you know, and then feeling like, oh my gosh, no, the hardest part is staying
in.
Yeah, and then the hardest part is passing the board, and then the hardest part is, you know, your first year in practice and such. So there's always going to be a harder part, and but it's how we deal with that, I think, that makes the biggest difference. And then, again, like Abby said, being surrounded by supportive people and being a supportive person in other people's lives. I think it's really important too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the most stressful part about vet school that you recall?
Wow. Now you're really asking me to go back. It was probably self-imposed stress, which is still, I'm a student again now. I just wanted to know everything and do well. And that's a good quality because who wants to go to a vet that doesn't know what they're doing? But I think that the stress of what if I don't was the harder thing. And it is hard. I didn't really worry about the money, although when we both came out, we were paying more for our student loans than for our house. So I probably was in a nice bliss of not worrying about it that much. But we worked. We both worked while we were students, and yeah, I don't know. I've probably put it behind me. New things have come into my world. Stressful.
That's all right.
But it's great to exercise.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. And we didn't have social media back
Right.
then. We didn't even have computers.
Yeah.
You know, so
We had to carry our big textbooks. That was
yeah.
a stress that they don't have now. You know, carry big books.
And also, I did want to add to that, when you were talking about people who were discouraging you, my class was the first class that was 50-50 men, women. It used to be,
More men.
you're a woman, you can't be a vet. So you guys don't have that anymore. You know, our profession is pretty much, I mean, I don't know, what's the percentage in the class?
Our class, there's like 10 males.
Yeah, so that's
The
a
rest are all
huge
females.
shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
that's just in 50 years, because I think in the 1960s there were just a couple women
Just a
in
couple.
class, and
yeah.
and then we were at 50-50, and 80-20 wasn't very far behind. And if it's 90-10 now,
Yeah.
by the time you get to vet school, Macy, you're solidly in the majority.
100%.
But this is also a real important aspect of empowering women to be able to do the
What's
things
in your
that women
heart?
are capable and able to do, but that society really hasn't allowed certain things, which is wrong. And so you're also trailblazers in that regard, and
Yeah.
that's important to realize that this isn't some exceptional opportunity. This is an opportunity you're taking and grabbing and
Yeah.
and achieving because you deserve it. Yeah, and it is a hard course.
It
it's
really
a hard road
is.
to take. If I remember the first the practice that we had first bought, there were hard days, and I remember
Yeah.
the former owner then mentoring me, saying, you know, if it was easy, anybody would do it, and that didn't really help make it disappear, but it made me realize that sometimes in the hard things is when we acknowledge our strength and manifest our strength to be able to do that.
Yes.
And you're taking a road that is very difficult, but the rewards are immeasurable.
Yes.
You will talk to people who say, oh, I always wanted to be a veterinarian.
Oh,
And
all the
they
time.
didn't.
All the time. I don't think I could have done such and such.
Exactly.
Well, how much do you want it?
Yeah.
You know?
And then what are they doing now? And many times these people just say, you know, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't
Yes.
become a veterinarian. I didn't pursue my dream. And whatever that dream was, there is something about having a dream that you don't pursue, and it stays with you as sometimes a
Yes.
regret. So,
Yes.
Yeah. I actually, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, go.
I actually met someone, I do swing dance as also one of my stress relieving things. And someone at a swing dance event, they asked me what I did. I'm like, a vet student. And they're like, you're a vet student? Oh my God, like, I've always wanted to be a
Yes.
vet. They were like a 40-year-old man, and they were sad still because they didn't get to go to vet school because they just weren't able to, or things happened in life, and things shifted, but it stuck with him, and he was very excited that I was becoming a vet. So yeah, it really does stick with you.
Yeah.
There's something
Not
when
pursuing
you're
it.
little.
Mm-hmm.
It, like you said, you've always wanted to be a vet.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a vet. You probably.
I didn't always
you
want to be a
didn't,
vet.
and
That's
David didn't
different.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Medicine
there's
was where it was at, but it got refined later.
yeah, but when it's in there, if you don't go with that, and you reject it, it's still going to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's good.
So you, what was your road then? Like mine was I
Yeah.
wanted to be science, I wanted to be medicine, that kind of thing. What was your decision points?
So when I was really young, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
And then I wanted to be a cook.
Uh-huh.
And then I wanted to be a fashion designer. Not gonna work out. I know nothing about colors. And then I wanted to be something in science because I love science so much. I loved rocks, so geology was on my radar. I loved fossils, so something with paleontology or something like that would be super cool. They were definitely things that I had in my mind. And then entomology, or the study of bugs. I've always really loved bugs since I was little.
There's bugs
so
in veterinary medicine.
I know,
you're
there's
gonna love
bees, bee medicine. Oh yes, that too.
There's lots of bugs.
Yes, worms and gross things. All my favorite things.
Fleas and lice and.
Get ready, Macy. Here come
Yes.
the bugs. We get it all in veterinary medicine.
But yeah, there was a lot of things that I was interested in, and that I decided I didn't want to do for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And then I got into undergrad, and I was like, something in biology would be cool. I don't really know what, because I am still also very interested in conservation, animal medicine. I didn't really know that was a thing back then either, so you're already also ahead of the game there too. When I was in undergrad, I decided to try something, and that was veterinary medicine, and I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
I'll do this.
Excellent.
And there's so many things within it that you can do.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. But then there's also things outside of veterinary medicine that I can still
Yes.
do. I can still go rock hunting if I want to.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, hobbies. We often talk about what we know in veterinary medicine just makes us feel like sort of we're at the hub of all the things around us in life. You know, we know about medicine, we know about science, we know about, just all sorts of things. We know about business, we know about interacting with people. And all of this just seems to be like a central career, but it's like got
life.
lots of spokes regarding the world around us, and that's very helpful. It just keeps us well-rounded.
Yeah. Even parenting. Like,
Even parenting,
oh.
yes.
diapers.
We've dealt with things that are worse than diapers. Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
Well, in bringing this around the final corner, because first of all, I could talk forever and I could listen for even longer than that. But in staff meetings here, we sometimes say, what do we talk about 5 minutes after the meeting? Well, we should talk about that now. What kinds of things are on your mind? We'll just kind of go down the line and give you a chance to say that. Well, what kinds of things will you be thinking about when the cameras go off, but the conversation continues? And let's hear about those things.
I'm just really happy that I am ahead of the game now.
Yeah.
That I kind of have more time to figure out, how this is going to work, the whole system's going to work. I'm glad that I have this opportunity here to shadow. It's really opened my eyes to see like how you deal with different things. It's not just the pets, it's the people as well. Like, I think that's a really important part that I've just learned here. And there's different treatment options like I didn't even know about until I came and shadowed and kind of saw how things work. That's just part of
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you had a chance to meet Abby,
me too.
and that Abby had a chance to meet you, because then I don't know how it will go, but you will all at least know each other, and then can be a resource for each other. Oh yeah, we went through that, and it's no problem. Here's what you do.
Yes.
Abby, how about you? And what kinds of final thoughts do you have about?
I actually had like 2 questions for both of you guys. How do you like deal with imposter syndrome? Because I have it bad, and everyone has it bad.
Yeah. Go ahead, Karen. You go first.
I think I'm a pretty honest person with myself, but if I can take the question in a little different direction, I think what gets me more is not having the confidence to do something that I should actually try to do, more so than pretending that I'm somebody that I'm not. It's like stretching myself to do something else.
Okay.
But I have actually branched out into many other things since vet school. Like, I went to acupuncture school. I'm in homeopathy school right now. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I am trying to do, but here I am, 30 some years out. But I think that's more of an issue for me than pretending to be something that I'm not. So that probably doesn't help you much.
No, it does help.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm a very confident person, and I've achieved an awful lot, but I can still easily feel imposter syndrome. There's just there's situations like when I'm familiar with what I'm working on, talking about. I don't put up any false front or anything like that, but I realize that there's so many different facets to this. The people who come to work here and have been on the job for 3 months, 6 months, already know more than a majority of the clients who come here. And it's not against the clients, it's just that there is an immersion that happens, but there is this, you're looking at the people who are above you, the technicians who have been here forever, the doctors who have been here forever, and you're comparing up the ladder instead of, I don't want to say down the ladder, and there's not really a ladder in veterinary medicine, we're all in this together, except to say that we have to often get over ourselves and what are we comparing to, and if we're not comparing to our own potential, that's where the competition exists. It doesn't exist by comparing to some doctor who's been out for 30 years or a technician who's been on the job for whatever, and we're not to feel inferior to any of these people. We're to know where we are and compare ourselves to our potential, and then just continue to build your circle of influence, your potential and such, and stop the comparing thing. Know who you are. This is the honesty thing that Karen was talking about, and continue to build your experience, because you do have credibility. It's not just existing on a certificate that says you graduated from veterinary medicine. It doesn't exist on a board exam that you took. I mean, you haven't taken yet, but we took it a long time ago. It exists in you. All of these things will pass by, and you still carry yourself forward, and there is quality and capability in that, and to know that. You can't get rid of the feeling that you don't know enough or won't have done well enough. You just have to realize that you do, and in that moment of feeling awkward, just kind of, which are you going to hold on to? They say you can't hold on to two things. And, a person who chases two rabbits will catch none. You know, this was recently told to me, but you can either hold on to your inability and your lack of confidence, or you can hold on to your confidence and go forward. And if you're holding on to both, you're probably not making a decision either way. That may sound easy, but imposter syndrome can easily exist, but mostly to the degree that you feed it rather than that you overcome it. And then as you build up the things that overcome it, pretty soon the imposter feeling disappears. I wish for both of you to be already through your education and through your first 3 years of practice, because then you suddenly feel like you know what you're doing. But nothing except for the rotation of the earth and the days going by will accomplish that for you. Just during those days, do everything you can to confidently believe in yourself, and things will work out.
Yeah. I want to reiterate what you said, which was, you'll know more than the majority of people, honestly. I don't mean to be arrogant about that, but
no, it's
just like what you said, like a veterinarian is so well-rounded in knowledge, you know, and you're only comparing yourself to where you are, but I mean, it's a great education for so many things. I mean, we did home birth even. It was like, that's a natural thing, you know? You don't need to, you know? I mean, we figured we could handle it, whatever.
We had midwives.
We had a midwife, but, you know, you're prepared for so many things. You'll be a well-prepared person for life.
And really, the profession is one of the top 3 respected professions at all. I mean, we are given a wonderful profession, but then we are also given this coattail of the fact that we are respected above almost all other professions. You know, it's easy to list who might be at the lowest end of that respected part, but we don't focus on that. No. We're just very grateful for the fact that while certainly there's emotions involved in pet care and animal care, but if we understand that those are the feelings of the person and not receiving the arrows that are misdirected, they're just concerned. A lot of times it's just you've got to reframe the things that might come at you as to, you know, what's their issue versus what truly is your issue. And when you can separate that, it feels a whole lot more healthy. But this is a very respected profession, and we're very fortunate to be a part of that. We could want to be the best. Well, I won't name other professions, but you know, you can be the best of that profession, but if the society doesn't feel strongly about that being a very respectable profession, you will be against society, and so society is for us. They are for us.
Yes.
That's really awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you have compassion, you care about the environment, you have medical knowledge, you're intelligent, you're problem solvers. You look at this and how do I solve this? And you'll learn all of that. And if you don't, then you ask somebody else. And and we're all just like this, you know.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I did. You know, you can try this, or you know, or look it up. Because you're so fortunate, you've got internet. Oh my gosh, it's so you know, really.
Yeah.
So the knowledge, even there might be a study that was done over in wherever, Italy, you know, and it's there. But how would we have gotten that, you know? So it's really good. You're at a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When did you start feeling like you actually were comfortable?
Yeah.
And you said about 3 years into.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it differs, and I don't know.
It does differ.
Yeah.
But that's when I stopped dreaming about and worrying about my patients, when I went home so much.
Yeah.
No, I know I did a good job. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, you never stop caring, and to the
Yeah.
degree that you care, you the element of care can turn into worry.
Yes.
So it's also how you control. I don't want to say that everybody's an expert at controlling emotions. Emotions are emotions.
Yes.
But to know yourself, to know why you feel
Yes.
that way, helps you to organize where that emotion goes. Does it go into care or does it go into worry
Right.
category? You know, and when we put things in the worry category, we probably haven't proactively handled a core emotion of ours. You know, so. But in any case, the more that's the case, the more we have mental health, emotional health, you know, as we go through that. But it does take some time,
It does.
and probably 3 to 5 years, you'll feel like, man, this is very comfortable, easy stride kind of thing. So
Okay.
it always seems like there's another 4 years ahead, right? 4 years undergrad, 4 years in med school,
Yes.
4 years in practice before you get comfortable. But the only difference is whether we take that first step on that journey. And so every step that adds up suddenly becomes the journey completed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here and talking through these things. It's a joy to us, and we're really happy with where you're going and what you're doing. Very proud of what you've accomplished.
Yes.